Crime Cafe, your podcasting source of great crime, suspense, and thriller writing. I'm your host, Debbi Mack. Before I bring on my guest, I'll just remind you that the Crime Cafe has 2 ebooks for sale, the 9-book box set and the short story anthology. You can find the buy links for both on my website, debbimack.com, under the Crime Cafe link. You can also get a free copy of either book if you become a Patreon supporter. You'll get that and much more if you support the podcast on Patreon, along with our eternal gratitude for doing so. But first, let me put in a good word for Blueberry Podcasting. I'm a Blueberry affiliate, but that's not the only reason I'm telling you this. I've been using Blueberry Podcasting as my hosting service for my podcast for years, and it's one of the best decisions I ever made. They give great customer service. You're in complete control of your own podcast. You can run it from your own website, and it just takes a lot of the work out of podcasting for me. I find for that reason that it's a company that I can get behind 100% and say, you should try this. Try Blueberry. It doesn't require a long-term contract, and it's just a great company, period. And it also has free technical support by email, video, and phone. So you can get a human being there. Isn't that nice? Hi, everyone. My guest today is a former police detective with the Toronto Police who draws on his experiences to write 2 very distinctive series. The Mike O'Shea series of gritty police stories reminiscent of Joseph Wambaugh, so definitely gritty stuff, and also a series called A Pint of Trouble, which is closer in tone, apparently, to the Thursday Murder Club books by Richard Osman. So I find that just a fascinating dichotomy of series there. Way not to get pigeonholed. It's my pleasure to have with me today the author Desmond P. Ryan. Hi, Des. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Debbie. How about yourself?
Quite well, thank you. I just got through wrapping on my first film. I directed a film a week
Wow,
ago.
that's
It was a short film.
wow.
It's a short
Wow.
film. Yes.
I bet a lot of work.
Oh boy. It was a lot of work, and it was a very, very interesting and eye-opening. Just kind of an experience I'll never forget,
So
you
what's the
know?
film about?
It's about a priest who has a dark, somewhat dangerous past, who has to face the consequences of what he's done.
Okay.
I'll leave it
And
at that. I don't
all
want to
right.
spoil anything.
And where will we be seeing this film?
I hope to have it somewhere online eventually, somehow. I think that the company that I was associated with, the nonprofit called Charm City Filmmakers, helped make this happen. They basically teach new directors how to be directors, what's
Wow.
involved, and who does what on the set, that kind of thing, and what your
Wow.
your role is. And you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how much work the first AD or assistant director does. It's
Right?
just this amazing process that just it requires you to be really paying attention, for one thing.
So it's not all magic?
It's not it's magic, but it's magic that looks invisible. I mean, the best magic does not reveal its tricks, right?
That's true.
But it's funny, people go behind the scenes all the time and see the tricks. So it's interesting, but it's a magic that we willingly buy into, something
Yes.
like that.
Yes. Well, you're gonna have to let us know when it's gonna
Oh,
be
for sure,
available
for
to
sure.
see.
I
I'm
feel like
already
I've
excited.
Thank you. I feel like I've kind of hijacked this interview with you here, just
Not at
mentioning that
all.
film. My God, the film was really just a great experience, and I'll probably talk about it more on my YouTube channel. So I'm on YouTube as Debbi Mack if you want to find it there. Um,
We will.
okay, awesome. Let's see. You have the Mike O'Shea series and the Pot of Trouble series. It's interesting. They're so very different. I love that your writing, though, focuses on the diversity of Toronto's neighborhoods. I'm just fascinated with neighborhoods and how cities are made up of neighborhoods often. Tell us about the neighborhoods in Toronto, and in particular, Cabbagetown, which I never knew about until I found out you were there, looked it up, and has a very interesting entry on Wikipedia.
Yeah, well, Debbie, I'm born and raised in Toronto, and so I take a lot of it for granted. And it would take me hours and hours and hours to explain the diversity of Toronto. I
Mhm.
believe it is the most diverse city in the world, not just because Des says so, but I think and whoever measures all of that stuff out, it is. Um, and it's made up of little neighborhoods, like just and a lot of the neighborhoods are based on culture and ethnicity, and it's a really, really, I think, fascinating city. You have things like Chinatown, Little Italy, Little Portugal, Little India. You've got Somali neighborhoods. You've got like all kinds of neighborhoods. And the neighborhood I live in is called Cabbagetown. And it is an old, old neighborhood when we were talking Toronto years. Many of the houses here were built in the late 1800s. And they were originally built as fairly large Victorian homes. And as the neighborhood turned over and the economy went belly up and all that sort of thing, um, the houses got into disrepair. A lot of them were turned into rooming houses or broken up into flats and things like that. And one of the reasons that they call this neighborhood Cabbage Town is that the people who lived here, because of the economic depression at the time, were growing cabbages in their front yard. And so that's how it came to be called Cabbage Town. And for a long time, this neighborhood was very um, disenfranchised. And they put a very, very large public housing um, complex in the area, which was called Regent Park. And they ripped down a pile of the old houses that were sort of used as rooming houses to facilitate this. And then, so rather than invigorate the neighborhood, the again, the houses were rooming houses, things like that. It became a very tough neighborhood. And at one time, I actually policed in this neighborhood, and that would have been in the early 90s. And I
Mm.
remember policing here and thinking, who the heck would want to live here? Now, what ended up happening was this neighborhood is also very close to what we call the gay village, the Church and Wellesley area, which became heavily populated with gay men and lesbians, mostly gay men, who then saw the economic opportunity in these old houses. And so they started buying these houses, refurbishing them, and through that action, basically turned the neighborhood around. And so now these houses are worth millions of dollars. They're gorgeous. It's a historic, I think it's the largest historic neighborhood in Canada, which means that the exterior of the houses cannot be changed. So these are like from the outside, they're time locked. So it makes for a very, very beautiful neighborhood.
Very interesting. That's fascinating. Yeah, it's fascinating the way things change over time, isn't it?
Mhm.
Let's see. What inspired you to create Detective Mike O'Shea as a character and give him so
Well,
many problems?
well, um,
Wow.
as you'd said, I spent almost 30 years in policing, and the first 15 years of my career were done in uniform in various capacities, including foot patrol and primary response and community officer and all that sort of thing. And then I became a uniform sergeant, and then I became a detective. And as my career was going on, more winding down, getting to the end, I realized that I had a lot of distinct knowledge that really had no relevance in the outside world. Not a lot of people want to know the stages of rigor mortis. Not a lot of people want to know, gathering evidence, things like that. And so I thought, well, what can I do with this information? And I had done my undergrad degree at the University of Toronto in English literature and political science. It's an obvious segue into policing. but um, but what ended up happening is I thought, well, why don't I just start writing this story? And so I created this character. And as any of your listeners know who are writers, oftentimes you have an outline of a character, and even if you really define the character, they kind of develop their own selves. And so as I was writing the story, also looking at the impact of what was happening to the characters, specifically Mike O'Shea, of course he would develop these problems because
Hmm.
otherwise, I mean, um, not to give anything away, but in the very first book, there's a major in 1033 assist PC. There's a very traumatic event that forms is Mike's the rest of his policing career, and for him to be able to walk away with that and just sort of shrug it off, I think would have been a bit unreasonable. And then more and more things seem to happen, and he responds, in the only way he knows how, which unfortunately isn't the healthiest way. And then it also gave me an opportunity to discuss mental health in frontline officers, in first responders, and it just sort of opened up a whole world,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
in a place I didn't think the character was going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. They tell you where to go eventually.
Yes, yes.
They take a li on a life of their own. Um, do you, what do you think people get wrong, and writers in particular get wrong about police?
I think it is either that sense that they're tremendously troubled individuals, or that they're perfect. When in fact we're just regular people that do a unique job. Like being a surgeon is a unique job. Being a mortician is a unique job. Being a, all like there's a very different skill set. Um, I think oftentimes, um, having said that, writers can sometimes write their characters as a little bit one-dimensional in terms of, yes, policing is a very involved occupation, and when you're in it, you're in it. But there's other things happening in the individual officers' lives that if the writer can do it and sort of put a little bit of that in, I think that'll add a little more authenticity to the character.
Hmm. Yes, definitely. What prompted you to write a series versus standalones? I've noticed people tend to have a preference for one or the other.
I just thought that it's one of those things like once the ball gets going. Originally, I actually set it up as a five, but then became a six-book story arc, because I wanted to tell this long story, but I also wanted to talk about individual homicide investigations, and I didn't want to end up writing a 400,000 word book. And as a writer, I just thought it was easier in terms of world building, because once you create your characters, once you create the world, then in your next book, you can advance the plot more. You can get more into the minutiae of investigations. You can do all of that, um, and I thought that made it easier for me. And as we were discussing with the film idea, it's all magic. It's all fiction is all a suspension of belief. But once you establish where that suspension exists, then you can play around a lot in it. So that's
Exactly.
what made me want to do a series.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of nice to have a defined world so that you
Mhm.
don't have to keep building it each time.
Yeah, and
Just hint at it or, whatever works.
Yeah, and I mean now I'm working on the sixth book of the Mike O'Shea series, and that's the final book in the series. I set it up that way, and Debbie, I gotta say, I'm dogging it. I think, why is this so hard? It's because I have been writing this series since 2014,
Hmm.
and now it's like, and now it's time to say goodbye. And it's like, and I want to tie up all the loose ends, and I want to do it right, and then that world ends.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely there's a kind of a sadness that comes with end. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like, that's it. We're done. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, it's been real.
Exactly, exactly.
Do you plan to keep working on the other series?
Yes, actually, and I have another series that's unrelated to the Mike O'Shea characters, also coming out, also with Level Best Books. But um, with the pint of trouble, because I what we were talking about the characters having their own lives. I put in the very first book, I put Mike O'Shea's mother in, Mary Margaret O'Shea, as the typical Irish mother, and as a first generation immigrant from Ireland. She is more Irish than anybody in Ireland because she has manifested all of her Irish identity, and there's no one to tell her that that's not really how it is. And I just put her in to lighten up the sort of the scene a little bit, but then she
Hmm.
became a reader favorite. And by the third book, which is Man at the Door, I had to really stop her from taking off. Like, she was just taking over more and more of the book. And I kept reminding myself, no, this is a police procedural. This is a Mike O'Shea book. And then what happened, Debbie, was uh, during 2020, right after the we all got locked down, I thought, well, this will be a great time. I had some my marriage collapsed. I was living on my own, and I thought this would be a great time for me to finish off the Mike series and all that. But it got too dark. I couldn't I
Hmm.
couldn't do it, and I thought, well, then I'll just start with this Mary Margaret character and see what happens. And it's a complete opposite. I mean, it's she's mildly Machiavellian. Uh, she is her own person. She beats marches to her own drum. The characters are fun. I used some of the same characters from the Mike O'Shea books, but writing them was tricky because in the Mike O'Shea books they're gritty, they're in your
Hmm.
face, and they use some swear words, a lot of swear
Hmm.
words. In the Mary Margarets they don't, and they're softer. And so it was really interesting balancing that out, and it was fun.
That
And
is tricky.
yeah, and so with the Mary Margarets, I'm now the third one is coming out soon. The fourth one is in the works. I'm contracted for five of those, but I'm hoping to keep writing them just because she's fun and the
Hmm.
characters are fun. And the difference between a police procedural, where you have to follow police procedures, you can't make things up, or you shouldn't, versus a traditional or sort of more cozy-ish uh, uh, crime fiction, is that you don't really have to follow the rules. As long as your reader will believe what you're telling them and will go along for the ride, you can do whatever you want. And so that's a lot more fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Get away from all those rules.
Yes.
Let's see. Well, you answered my question about what your plan as far as like how many books you're going to write in terms of Mike O'Shea anyway. What writing routine do you generally follow?
Well, usually I find when I get up, I'm kind of at my best. Not right away. I'm not at my best when I right away get up. I'll get up, poke around a bit, have a coffee, greet the day, and then I'll say, okay, now it's time to settle down. And I have the luxury of time, so I can sit and I can write for a couple of hours. And then I'll get up and do something else and go for a walk, have some lunch, and then I'll come back again. I try, I write fairly quickly, And I think that's a result of spending years writing police reports, which
Mm-hmm.
is basically writing short stories. So if you go out to 10 radio calls, you're writing 10 short stories, and you've got to be
Mm.
good. It's got to be fast. So that allows me to write quite a bit, and I find I have to write. I usually don't write on weekends, but I have to write every day during the week, or I'll fall out, and I'll just it's hard to get back in step again.
Yeah, yeah. Having a routine really, really helps.
Yeah.
It's
So
just something you do.
what's your routine?
I tend to write in the morning, usually, because that's usually when I'm at my best. And then
Right.
I'll do anything else that needs to be done in the afternoon.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like mornings are for writing, afternoons for all the other stuff that has to get done, which is not inconsiderable at this point.
And then
Um,
sometimes I, even like after dinner, I'll think, well, I just want to touch this little piece up. But then before I know it, it's like, oh my gosh, it's 11 o'clock.
yeah, it's amazing. My husband just doesn't quite believe how wrapped up I get in writing something. And it's like, you
Yes.
didn't notice that it was 5:30? I'm like, hey, I was
Yes.
in the middle of putting something together that, it just came and I just had to
Yes.
do it. And
Yep.
anyway, some people just don't understand these things. Um, they're generally not writers.
Yes.
Um, what authors have most inspired you as a writer? I think Joseph Wambaugh would be one,
Yeah.
probably.
Yes. And I'm just trying to think. I well, I really liked I still like F. Scott Fitzgerald, Hemingway. I like that sort of that era of writing. I tend to be a very eclectic reader. I mean, I studied Dickens at university, and one of the things I think and not that I'm remotely comparable to Dickens, but what I liked about his characters were no matter how small they were, they came complete.
Hmm.
As opposed to just there was someone with a black jacket walking by. There was a whole story about all of those characters. And that's something that really impacted me. And I like again, I'm certainly not comparable, but I like to think when I'm writing a character, I want them to be a complete character as opposed to just some person in the hallway.
Interesting.
Because I want to present, again, in presenting I think what makes a story good is the authenticity of it, which again provides like the depth of the people involved in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. An excellent point. You know, it's amazing how some people can describe a character in a few lines and you have a
Mhm.
real sense of who that person is.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, just
that
a turn of phrase.
exactly.
Well, Debbie, I used to work with well, in the same division as this traffic cop. And the way it was set up is there's divisional officers who respond to calls to service, and there's traffic officers who do all the enforcement. They're the ones that we don't like, right? The ones that if you go through the stop sign, they stop you and they give you a summons and all of that. And this guy would go to court, and it's not an exciting thing, you ran the stop sign, whatever. He would tell a story that would have you on the edge of your seat for every single summons he wrote.
Hmm.
It's like, wow. It was riveting. I'm thinking anybody else, like, the vehicle failed to stop at the white line. I observed them proceeding through the stop sign. I stopped them all, this guy would tell like it was fabulous. And I just thought, wow, that's how to tell a story.
That's it. You're right. That's it. If you can do that, you can do it.
Yes.
Um, what advice would you give to anyone who would like to make a living as a writer, have a writing career?
Wow, that's a great question. Because I don't think there's a blueprint for it. I don't think, if you get a, master's in fine arts in writing, if that will guarantee you a job, like career in writing. I mean, it might if you're a journalist, it might if you're a reporter, but in terms of being a novelist, I don't think there's a career path. I think though it's what there is just never giving up. Is you just keep writing, keep and sooner or later, hopefully, someone will notice you that will move you up to the next level. And whether that's move you from the level of the only person who read your book was your mother to, now you've got a community reading your books, to now you've got strangers buying your books, to now you're in stores, to now whatever your goal is. But it's to never stop writing and never
Hmm.
stop producing. Because I think for a lot of people, well, as you know, writing is hard work. It's wonderful work. It's fun, it's exciting, it's frustrating, it's annoying, but it's lonely. It's a lot of work by yourself. And Melody Campbell, who's an author here in Canada, she said she figures it takes about 1,000 hours from the time you sit down and start your book until it's published. And that's a lot of time.
Hmm.
But,
Yes.
you just keep going. Um, because why wouldn't you? Like,
Ex-
so that would be my advice. And maybe it'll happen to you where the first person who picks up your book will say, "This is great, we'll turn it into a movie," and my people will call your people tomorrow. But I don't know of anybody that's really happened to, but maybe that's just the circles I travel in.
Who knows how these things happen? Things happen
Yes.
for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah, and in a lot of
So,
cases, it's to give us time to get better at what we do. Because the more you write, the better you get. Um, Someone else was saying that never publish your first book. Keep it
yeah,
in a menu, put it away, and maybe because you're not as good as you think you are. And
yes, that's absolutely true.
yeah, and
That,
and
that's
and that's
absolutely
your
true.
calling card. So uh, put it away, and then maybe after you've written and publishers picked you up, then you can pull it out again and dust it off, and try not to be too embarrassed that you thought it was great, but realize how much better you've gotten.
That's an excellent point. Thank you for saying that because, a lot of people don't really quite realize. I know the first time I wrote a novel, it was hard. That first novel is the hardest. But once
Yeah,
you've done one, you can do it again. It's just a
yeah,
matter of keep practicing, keep at it, and take advice from the right people in terms of, get with a writers group or something, some place where you can get constructive criticism
yeah, and
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 learn to
realize
take it.
and realize that rejection isn't necessary. It's nothing personal.
It's not the end of the
Uh,
world. It's nothing personal. It's a
and
business.
yeah, and just because that person doesn't like the book doesn't mean somebody else won't. And I mean, chances are there's somebody out there who's going to like your book. Maybe it's
Exactly
just not the
right.
person, maybe it's just not the person that you think will, or the agent you think should be representing you. But just keep going. Somebody will find you.
Yep. Great advice. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish up?
Um, No, I mean, I just hope that your listeners who are writers keep writing. The other thing is, um, we all have stories to tell, and I think it's really important that they get out there, as opposed to people saying, "Well, oh, I never really told this story because I didn't think." It's like it's a great story. Tell it and find a way to tell it, and whether it's through writing, whether it's through film, whether it's through visual art. You've got a story to tell. Tell the story.
Great advice. Thank you so much. Thank you for being
Oh,
here today.
it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It was my pleasure to have you on, and thank you. Thanks also to everyone listening, especially my Patreon supporters and Substack subscribers. Thank you so much. The Crime Cafe monthly magazine should be out for September by now, by the time this gets up. Um, so look for the one for October. Each issue of the magazine has a listing of new releases, as well as book reviews, podcast episodes, and more. Especially if you're a paid subscriber, I tried to add a lot of extras in there. A few extras where I can squeeze them out. In any case, until next time, when my guest will be Amanda Dubois, take care and happy reading. Be seeing you.